we are going to be talking about briefly about what's going on in the real estate market, and also a very, I think, popular topic, and that's rental property do's and don'ts. I believe, Andres, that there are a lot of people out there who are landlords, and some of them don't know what they're doing. Some of them do know what they're doing, right?
Sure, sure. I mean, the rental market, I think, is always going to be there, and it's heating up, I think,
That's
especially
right.
in the market that we're in today. So it's always a good option, but definitely a lot of things to consider if you're looking at renting or you're already managing a rental property. We'll go
Absolutely.
over some key tips. So
Yes, absolutely. I hear it from all of my clients that they say, "Oh, we heard this," or there were talks about crash. The lesson is that don't trust the headlines without proper content. I think that is for all of us, no matter what we're thinking or what we're reading, right? For instance, there is this post that says homeowners have lost 1.5 trillion in equity since May as home prices drop. Well, okay, looking at that, that just definitely creates fear and anxiety. And actually, the main point of headlines in most cases are to create that fear, not clarity. But on this other diagram right there on the right side, this shows that how much equity. Look at this. It's the amount of equity available for homeowners to access before hitting a maximum 80% combined, which is a loan to value in trillions, still 400 million above last year. So again, when we see data like that, and then you see a post like that, so really the message is that dive into it, research that a little bit more, and don't just look at the headlines and walk away, because that's what they're creating, more fear than certainty for you. Marina Walsh with MBA says, for the second quarter in a row, the mortgage delinquency rate fell to its lowest level since MBA's survey began in 1979, declining to 3.45%. Foreclosure starts and loans in the process of foreclosures also dropped in the third quarter to levels further below their historical averages. So as we can see, and again, this is kind of showing the foreclosure for those people who are still thinking that there is a huge foreclosures coming down the pipe in the next year, that you see in actually, of course, 2009, 8, 9, 10, right? That was where we had the last the real estate crash, and that's what you see at 2 million foreclosures. And again, these numbers, by the way, they are nationwide. They're not local to Northern Virginia, but I just wanted to share what nationwide looks like. And back in just a couple of years ago, 2020 and 2021, you see they're even below 270,000, and then now it has increased a little bit to 88K. But look at that; it's so low compared to what the previous years, even 2014, 15, 16, and all that is. So again, dive into the data before you make a decision and make a judgment. And prediction for 2023 is that in terms of home sales, they're predicting a little bit drop of 5.1 million. Now, this year, the experts have predicted, and looks like what we're closing at 5.8 million, again, nationwide. And in terms of price of homes, and some are saying, oh, 5.4 increase of prices, and as little as maybe 0.7. But then some of them are also saying, no, the price drops. And I'm sure you've seen some price drops in different neighborhoods too. But an average of all of those experts is showing really there will be a price appreciation, but very little, about maybe 0.5%. So with that in mind, I want everybody to take the information that they have, please research it and dive into it. And also, this is the time in this year, in the new year 2023, is the time to look into your investment portfolio. If you already have investment properties, maybe it's perfect time to add another rental property to it. And if you don't, let's talk and let's get you your first rental property. With that, Andres, why don't you take this from this on then?
Sure. Well, thanks, Kathy. I think if you're looking at your property, right? So you're thinking about maybe the market is not the way that you like it right now, but you need to do something with that property. Leasing is always going to be a pretty good option, especially in the Northern Virginia area. Always a strong demand for tenants, and rents, I think, have generally been rising, as Kathy has covered before. A couple of do's and don'ts you want to think about. You always want to have a written lease, even if you're having somebody to come and stay at your property for a short period of time. Put it in writing. Too many times I've seen people where they'll have guests or even folks that they're charging. Even if they're coming in for a short period of time, you need to have it in writing. It's easy to obtain a lease. You can get one from your local realtor. They have resources. You can get one from an attorney. You can get one online. And really, most forms that you're going to get, they should work for your situation, unless it's a unique type of rental property or it's a multifamily property. But make sure that you have a written lease. Go through an application process with a prospective tenant, right? You want to make sure that you check the credit, right? You want to make sure you try to check references with respect to prior landlords. You never know. The worst thing that you could have is to end up with a problematic tenant where you're having to, sort of take steps to address behavior or non-payment of rent. And that's not really where you want to be. Another good reason why you want to make sure that you have a written lease in place, because if something goes wrong, you need, an instrument or a set of guidelines that you can turn to with that particular tenant. Last thing that I would just mention is make sure you're reviewing that lease carefully, right? A lot of people will just, kind of go through and sign it quickly and then not pay it any mind. When problems, crop up or arise, you've got to look through that lease. You can look through it yourself. You don't need an attorney necessarily to look through it or to guide you as far as managing that property. Because the lease will tell you what you can and cannot do. And if there's a problem, generally there's a course of action that the lease will provide for the landlord to follow, for the tenant to follow. So always keep that in mind. And there are going to be state laws that will come into effect as well if you have issues that crop up with your tenant. So keep that in mind. Next thing I would just say, we can go to the next one, Kathy. Look at your lease as far as the payment terms, right? That's always going to be the biggest issue where most issues crop up with tenants. Hopefully you don't have that problem, but in this economy, things can happen and change. So just be mindful of that. You have to send notice generally. If a tenant is not paying rent on a timely basis, you've got to send notice. And usually sending it by email is not going to work by the terms of the lease unless you're specifically modify your lease to state that. So that may be one thing you want to take a look at with your tenant. Most importantly, if there's a problem with the tenant as far as paying rent or otherwise damaging the property, do not go in and try to change the locks or convince the tenant that they should be moving out. You have to take legal process to do that. Nobody, you cannot force them to really do anything. That's what the court system is there for. If you have property and you're looking to lease it, think about using an LLC, right? You can enter into a lease with a tenant with the LLC as the landlord, right? They can be your agent as the owner. Perhaps your LLC owns the property, perhaps it doesn't, but the LLC could be a company that you form kind of for the sole purposes of managing your rental property or properties if you have more than one. It can be a form of liability and legal protection for you because the lease is between the tenant and the LLC and not you personally as the owner. So that could be a good option. And when you go to, if you have any issues that you need to enforce, right, through a court action, that can also be done through the LLC. And it's a pretty fairly quick and easy process, especially if it's over non-payment, especially in Virginia. DC, other places, not so much, but there is a process to follow. So look at those options if you're thinking about renting your property, and let us know if we can help you out, because I'm sure pricing is going to be important in this market, right, Kathy?
Oh, absolutely, Anders. Pricing is important. And really, I think what the second most important is that how you review the applicants and what criteria you use to do that. So if you like this, like it or subscribe and follow us, because these are the kind of information we're bringing to you, and hope that you are happy about the value that you're getting. And hopefully this is bringing up some questions for you that you could follow up with legal and realtor. We are here to help you out, so please reach out to both of us should you have any questions. I guess that's it, Andres. Until next time, right?
All right. Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.